Hi, 7th graders. This recording is a review for your Quiz 2 in Unit 3, and it is all about Anne Frank. Okay, so you are recalling the Diary of Anne Frank, the play, for this quiz. So we will start. The first two slides are going to be, excuse me, they are going to be about facts that happen in this play, facts that they will ask you direct questions about on the quiz. And I included a few pictures. The picture on the right is the actual Anne Frank house that you can visit in Amsterdam. It still exists, and it is a museum. And you can see there the bookcase that they moved aside to get into the secret annex, and the one that Meep always moved aside to go and to visit them and bring them food. So you can see a student going in there. This looked like just the end of where this building went. So the door opened up into another part of the building, which you could see from the outside, but it wasn't known that people were living there at the time. Okay, so now for the facts. I'm just going to read through them. And if you would like to review this again, you can play this video again. And I would also advise you stopping right now and either getting a notebook or sheet of paper to take notes on, or to bring your study guide, because, like I said, everything on this recording will be on your quiz. So, the first fact, Meep brings cake to the annex to celebrate the new year. Next fact, when Mr. Van Dan decides to sell Mrs. Van Dan's fur coat, she is very upset. Another fact, Mr. Crowler wants to speak privately with Mr. Frank because he suspects that a workman knows about the secret annex. So he wants to tell Mr. Frank and to alert him to that fact, that they might be found out, but he doesn't want to upset everyone in the house. Mr. Dussel is described as being disgruntled. Disgruntled means that he's angry or dissatisfied. And Mrs. Frank decides that Mr. Van Dan should leave the secret annex because he has been caught stealing food. So she's the one that makes that decision. Another set of facts. Anne is afraid of hurting Margot's feelings by her friendship with Peter. Okay, she knows that Peter is more Margot's age, and so she's afraid of hurting her feelings. Mrs. Frank accuses Mr. Van Dan of being a poor father because he is stealing food while the children go hungry. In Act 2, Scene 2, Anne feels that she is becoming attracted to Peter. After the Allies' invasion, the mood in the annex is joyful because the inhabitants think the war will end soon. And according to Mr. Frank, Anne felt happy in the concentration camp in Holland because she was happy to be outside again. And now the picture on the left is a picture of some of the women's quarters in the concentration camp. You can see them all bundled up because they were cold. And Anne is not in this picture. This is just a generic picture of a concentration camp, and I'm not sure which one. But you can see that they were all kept in very small quarters. Those were their bunks that they had to live in, and they were very cold. So although Anne was happy to be outside again after living so long in the secret annex, it really was not a pleasant place to live. And as you already may know, Anne and the rest of her family, except for her father, died of typhus shortly after arriving at the concentration camp. All right, the last fact is, on the day the secret annex is raided, Meep is searching for food to bring to them. Remember, she couldn't just go to the grocery store and buy however much food she wanted and bring it to them. She had to search for extra food because it would have been questioned why she was buying so much food if she just went out and bought it outright and was seen bringing it into the annex. And plus, at that time, there wasn't that much extra food available because it was during the war. So that is what she's doing when the secret annex was invaded, is out searching for food. Next slide. Here's some vocabulary you will need to know for this test. You will need to know about idioms, similes, metaphors, and alliteration because they are going to give you a phrase from the book or from the play, and you are going to have to identify whether it is an idiom, simile, metaphor, or alliteration. So remember that an idiom is a word or phrase that is not taken literally. So an example is, if someone is sick as a dog, that doesn't really mean that they're a dog. That means that you are very ill, sick as a dog. A simile is two unlike things that are compared using the word like or as. And an example of that is, he is as hungry as a horse. Now, a person probably really does not have the appetite of a horse, since a horse is many times our size, but that just means you're very hungry. So they use the word as there. So a simile uses the word like or as to compare two unlike things. And a metaphor is one thing conceived as representing another. So, or a symbol. Example, he is the rock of our family. Now, a person can't really be a rock, but you're representing that a person is a rock, meaning that he is very dependable. Okay, so similes and metaphors are similar, except a simile uses like or as, and a metaphor doesn't. Then alliteration are two or more words in a row starting with the same sound. And an example of that would be, the winds were whipping wildly. You see all the w sounds in there. That is alliteration. So, yeah, the words are too tiny to see on the picture at the right. The diagram shows the secret annex. You can see that this part of the building was where the office was, and you can see that right here in the middle was where people thought this part of the building ended. They thought that this part of the building was uninhabited and no one was there. So there was the bookcase that they moved aside to get into the secret annex. And you can see the various bedrooms. There are bedrooms down here, and you go up a ladder, really, not really steps, and into another small bedroom. And behind it is the kitchen where all of the people ate, and another bed was in the kitchen, and then going up into the very attic. Okay, so they had to be very quiet because there were offices and people down here and on the other side. So they couldn't make any noise or be heard to be walking. If you've ever been in a hotel or an apartment, you know that you can hear people walking and doing things above you. So they had to be very careful not to make any noise, especially during the day. Let's see, next one. It says, who is the speaker in this excerpt? An excerpt is part of a piece of dialogue in the play. Okay, they're going to ask you this on the quiz. Mr. Crowler is in the hospital. It seems he has ulcers. Pym says, we are his ulcers. So who was the speaker? Who did the talking here? If you think back to the play, who was saying that Mr. Crowler is in the hospital and that he has ulcers? And who was saying Pym says that we are his ulcers? Yep, it was Anne. Anne is the speaker here. And just for you to see some real pictures of the family, the Van Pels family, there is the picture of Peter. That's Peter after he got out of the secret annex and out of the concentration camp. He did survive, and his parents, Herman and Auguste. And the Frank family, These are real pictures of them. There was Otto, Margot, Anne, and Edith. And remember that in the concentration camp, everyone died except for Otto. He was the only survivor of their family in the concentration camp. And let's see, moving along, there's going to be some true or false questions. Is this true or false? When the telephone rings incessantly, which means it doesn't seem to stop, the men want Mr. Frank to go to the office and answer it because they think it is Miep. Is that true or false? Yep, it's true. They really want him to go. But does he end up going? No, but that is true. So then the next true-false question that will be on your quiz is in Act 2, Scene 2, Anne discusses her hopes and dreams for the future with Peter. Is that true or false? Yes, that is true also. She does discuss her hopes and dreams for the future with Peter. And this picture right here is in the secret annex that survives today. It's the house that you can visit, and this room is set up just as Anne and Margot had lived in it. And it's part of the museum, of course, for you to see. You can see what a tiny room it is, and that this small desk here, it is believed that Anne did most of the writing in her diary. So, yeah, you can still see those today, and it is a very interesting museum. I would like to go to it someday. Anyway, so if you have any questions, be sure that you get a hold of me before you take this quiz. And if you are watching this recording, you must call me for credit. You'll just call and tell me some things you saw in this video, and then I will tell you how to turn it in for credit. Both of my phone numbers are there. Try both, please. And good luck on your quiz. Goodbye. Oh.